Hi, I'm Tracy Bernstein, and I am really excited to share with you an extremely easy and fun do-at-home recipe for blintzes. And the reason we're talking blintzes today is because dairy is one of the wonderful traditions around the holiday of Shavuot, which starts tomorrow night, Thursday night, and goes through Shabbat. And Shavuot, sadly, is one of the less familiar but major holidays in Jewish tradition, I think in part because of when it falls on our calendar, which is the end of the school year, the beginning of the summer, and we don't have the opportunity to really deep dive into it because of it being after religious school often, or when we're in the midst of going on vacation, and we're missing out on a great tradition, one of the 3 pilgrimage holidays for which the Jewish people in ancient times took a long pilgrimage to get to the old city of Jerusalem to celebrate together. And what is Shavuot? Before we get into the blintzes, and I promise you, you can make them with just a few ingredients in your own homes. It's easy, it's really fun, and I'd love to see all the people that have started making challah in the last few months or who have kicked up their challah game in the last few months because we're all at home, avail themselves of this awesome opportunity also. Shavuot means weeks. Shavua is 1 week, Shavuot is multiple weeks. It marks the 7 weeks between the second night of Passover when we celebrate the fact that the Israelites became a people, left slavery, followed God, started on this new path, and spent 7 weeks moving as a Jewish people for the first time in the midst of the desert with miracles toward Mount Sinai to receive the Torah. And that's 49 days, 7-week period. They sat at the foot of Mount Sinai awaiting the Torah, the same Torah that has held the Jewish people together to this day. And the tradition around Shavuot is to celebrate by studying through the night. I love this tradition because it makes us a part of that moment at Sinai. Our tradition tells us that all of us, every Jewish soul, was present at Sinai. Even if we can't remember it, it's within us. And on this night, on Shavuot night, we get to engage in any and all manner of Torah study. So it could be Jewish spirituality, and it could be cooking, and it can be feminism and philosophy, and it can be Torah or Talmud or Jewish music. And now, also because of sheltering in place, it's all available online all over the world, so we can do it in our PJs and give it a try. There are so many exciting opportunities to study something that we're going to find interesting and make our Torah our own. So backing up to this table, we can do that by making a traditional dish. Cheesecake and blintzes are the ones everybody talks about for Shavuot, but do whatever you like. I'm going to make a classic cheese blintz. We're going to start with the filling. I've actually pre-made some, and the recipe is going to be available not just on the screen here, but at the GLT website. Start with the filling. It is a very, very simple recipe. I'm using Joan Nathan's recipe, famous Jewish cookbook author, but there are literally hundreds out there. They're all very similar. I used this farmer cheese, which I picked up from Publix. You can get it on Instacart. You can replace it with ricotta cheese. Any savory, relatively dry, very fine curd is what you're looking for. You want 2 packages or 2 cups of the savory cheese, plus a 1/4 cup of cream cheese softened to room temperature, and a 1/4 cup of sugar, and 1 egg, and a little bit of salt. Her recipe says a dash. I would put, I don't know what a dash means, 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon, I think. I like it a bit savory, and the sweet is in there with that 1/4 cup of sugar. And you see the texture is quite dense. All you need is a regular mixing bowl. You don't need a mixer. You just kind of mash it all together, and what you wind up with is that fantastic blintz filling. So setting this in the fridge until you're ready to use it. It can last even a couple of days in the fridge if well covered. We're then going to move to our batter. So now that we have the filling set aside in the fridge, we're going to move on to the incredibly easy blintz or crepe, really, it's the same as a crepe recipe, batter, which you don't even need a mixer for. You're going to go get your blender. I've pre-made some, and then I'm going to move us right into creating the crepes. You can see how we do it. This part you don't need to see me do. Break 5 eggs into your blender. Add to that 1 cup of milk. I use 1% or skim. Use any kind of milk you prefer or what you have in the house. If you're going to do a sweet blintz, you could use almond milk or coconut milk. If you're going to do a traditional blintz, you could stick with regular milk, but lactose intolerance is something that can be accommodated here, as can gluten-free, using gluten-free flour as a replacement for the regular flour. So the ingredients are, first, 5 eggs, large eggs, 1 cup of milk, 1.5 cups of water. Then you're going to blend that by pulsing your blender, just several pulses until it's really fully mixed in. Then you're going to add 2 cups of flour and about 1/4 teaspoon to 1/2 teaspoon of salt. You're going to blend that well, and actually it stays really nicely mixed for a good long time. You can leave that out, you don't have to worry. And what you're going to wind up with is like a creamy colored but milky thickness of batter. And I'm going to move on over to the frying pan, and I'm going to show you the incredibly fun and easy thing it is to make a blintz on your own. Before I do that though, I want to mention that the classic cheesy filling that we made that's sitting in the refrigerator isn't the only way to go here. If you want sweet blintzes, like the kinds you can buy or that you've gotten at the store or in a restaurant, just use cherry or pie filling, or cook down your own fruit if you're feeling really industrious and you have extra fruit that's turning bad or in your freezer that you'd like to do something with. But a pie filling works, or cut up fruit. We like savory, so you can saute up spinach and onions and mushrooms. You can do mashed potatoes and do a potato blintz served with sour cream instead of something sweet. Lots of options here, and all of them are incredibly delicious. So let's go that way, and I'll meet you at the frying pan. So we have arrived at the moment of truth. The hardest part, which is still super easy, of making the crepe part of the blintzes. It is as easy as the batter you've already made in the blender, a small heavyweight if possible. I like to use non-stick, but small heavy frying pan. Usually a 1 egg pan is a good way to go. 7-8 inches is perfect. You've got your batter. You've got your oil spray. Any kind of vegetable oil will do. You need just the tiniest bit so it pulls away. And what you're going to watch us make together is more of these beautiful crepes for your blintzes. So here we go. You wait till the pan is nice and hot on a medium heat. You put the lightest of oil sprays. And then you're going to pour, if you want to get a little closer to the pour, you're going to pour for about 2 seconds. And then you're going to zhuzh it around, zhuzh it around, zhuzh it around. Because what you want, don't be afraid to keep zhuzhing, okay? What you want is right what you see here, which is just the bottom to be covered, okay? And as it's heating up, you'll just take your fork, the only other thing you need, and lift the edges lightly. Now a great trick, you're gonna leave it until everything becomes dry on the top. I don't even turn mine over. Why get that complicated? You don't need to. And a great part of not turning it over is that when you turn it out onto your plate, which stack and actually can be frozen if put into an airtight bag or container, can be frozen for a good while and thawed before use. When you don't have anything wet and glossy, dump it right out just like that. And you'll see if you get close, there's a tiny bit of brown, lightest brown around the edges. It's okay if yours gets a little browner than that. There's a tiny bit of brown. You're gonna put your filling on that up-facing part that has the brown, so that when you turn it over, when you roll it to be the full blintz, only that pristine outside part with no brown will be showing. It'll be ready for its fry. So let's just do one more. Got my oil spray, lift my pan, about a 2-second pour, then I zhuzh it around. And here's actually a great example. I have one little hole there. You don't have to be perfect. Drop a little bit of batter into your little hole, keep zhuzhing it around. Okay, set it back down just for a few seconds until it all dries, lifting it gently with a fork all around. Okay, the one thing you don't want is little holes. You want it to be fully set with batter, just a thin, nice layer. And that egg and flour do their job. So if it sits actually, that batter, if it sits before you start to make your blintzes, it'll actually become more elastic and even better for the crepe. So no, you don't need to refrigerate your batter. You don't need to refrigerate this. Just let it sit out for as much as half an hour even. And look at this, in this tiny time we're speaking, I've just made our last 3 blintz. So here we are. The fun part has arrived. We're going to put together our blintzes. The first thing we do, clean hands. Take one of the crepes you've just made, or if you've thawed them from the freezer. You take your filling with a heaping tablespoon that equals about 2 tablespoons of filling. You want to put it close to one side and just spread it out. Now the cool part is that as you're folding the blintz, it'll help you with your folding. It'll help you with your even spreading of the filling. So you want to fold the top of the crepe over, just like this, and gently pat it down to be the length you want. You want no filling on the edges here because you're going to fold in one side, fold in the other side, and the crepe does such a gorgeous job of sticking for us. Ha! I said that and it didn't stick. Of sticking for us, it makes our lives easy. And then we gently fold. It's the shape I want. Fold again, always putting it seam side down. I'm gonna add it to my platter of blintzes I've just begun. I'm gonna do another for you. We take our crepe, we take a heaping spoon of our cheese filling, put it not quite on the edge, but near one edge. Spread it out. Lift it over. And then do one side. Do another side. And keep rolling. People often ask, why is dairy the tradition for Shavuot? And I will tell you that there is not one answer. There are many answers. Some are more satisfying to me than others, and I think that's going to be true of all of us. So a couple of the reasons that people say we have dairy on Shavuot. Chalav, which is the Hebrew word for milk, has a gematria, which is the numeric pairing of every Hebrew letter to a number. So chet is the number, equals the number 8, is the 8th letter of the alphabet. Lamed equals number 30. And vet of chalav, chet, lamed, vet, is 2. That equals 40 altogether. That is the number of days that it took Moshe to come down Mount Sinai with the Torah. So that is one. Another reason that people say that we have dairy is because dairy is like mother's milk. And it is a time of the Torah being like mother's milk for us, being that core nutrient that sustains us when we think of God that way. Another beautiful one I've heard is that the essence of sort of violence and blood was the exodus from Egypt. And it took all that time, those 7 weeks, for us to get rid of that violence and be ready to receive the Torah and the mother's milk and the non-violence of milk and rebirth. So those are all nice ideas. I've heard other ones as well, but it's food for thought. The last thing we do is fry up or bake up our blintzes. You can either bake them on 425 for 20 or 30 minutes with just oil spray on all sides, or you can give them a nice little sear, nice crispiness, frying them up in the pan. Whatever you do, wishing you a sweet and nourishing and fun Shavuot, and let me know if you've watched this and enjoyed. Take care. Chag Sameach. Happy Shavuot.